Friends, we are going to learn one more area, in fact, a new area. And this area is relating to management of audit firms impact. How audit firm or how auditors office or how a particular audit activity, audit engagement needs to be maintained. Various aspects has to be taken care of. Those aspects we'll be looking into uh, now. Now, as you can see, now we will be talking about acceptance and continuance of client relationship and audit engagement. This concept we need to understand. That means when a new client is coming, or let us say a new audit engagement has come, what is expected of the auditor? What he is supposed to do? Okay, and auditor is supposed to maintain the quality of work, is it not? And we have our standards and quality control. And standards of quality control suggest certain things needs to be maintained. Let us say certain policies needs to be maintained by the audit firm. The SQC1 first of all requires to obtain information before accepting an audit engagement. That means auditor is not expected to accept any audit just like that. He is required to obtain certain information about the client. Okay, because that information will in fact assist the engagement partner in determining whether the decision regarding acceptance and continuance of audit engagements are appropriate or not. That means those information will help him to decide whether to accept audit. And if it is an existing audit which needs to be continued or which needs to be renewed, then he has to think whether he would like to continue with the audit or not. Acceptance means we are talking about fresh audit, new audit, and continuance means we are talking about the renewal of an audit assignment. Okay, so certain information needs to be collected. What are these information which will be helpful to decide or to take a decision on acceptance or non-acceptance? They include certain things. For example, you may collect information about integrity of principal owners, key management person, the owners, the key management people. What is their integrity level? Whether they're honest or not. So you should have that information. In addition to that, one should also have information about engagement team's competency. Audit will be conducted by a group of people, is it not? Several members of the audit firm will be involved. Now the question comes whether they are really competent. In different audit assignments, you need different kind of expertise. Suppose bank audit, a different kind of expertise is required. Insurance company audit, you might be requiring a different kind of expertise. Manufacturing company, you might be requiring different kind of expertise. Like this. So the engagement partner need to collect information whether engagement team is competent to conduct the audit, whether they're capable of doing so or not. Then one more thing for which information is required, whether the firm and engagement team can comply relevant ethical requirements or not. That also one has to see that ethical aspects needs to be taken care of, whether the audit firm and engagement team can comply with that. If ethically it is not, or if ethically auditor is not supposed to accept that audit, then he should not accept that audit. Okay, ethical requirements has to be followed. For example, ethical or code of ethics normally requires that if you are accepting a audit and where there is a previous auditor, then you should ideally write to him. Okay, and obtain his no objection letter, that he doesn't have any objection for your accepting the audit. There is no professional objection to it. So that is ethical requirement. So one should collect evidences that whether that is followed or not. And other significant matters that have risen during current or previous audit engagement. If some audit issues where they are in the previous audit and the current audit. So those information also needs to be collected. Did you understand this? So in every audit situation, when a audit is going to be accepted or audit is going to be continued, so it should not be accepted just like that. Certain information needs to be collected. On that basis, decision has to be taken. Information regarding integrity of the owners, information regarding competency of your engagement team, information regarding ethical requirements, and other significant audit issues. Those information also needs to be collected. Did you understand this? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Earlier I had discussed. Right now also, let us quickly recapitulate this. So who is an engagement partner? In the previous slide, I told you that this information will be helping the engagement partner to take a decision whether to accept audit or not. Is it not? Now, who is that engagement partner? Repeatedly, we will be using this term engagement partner. So these terms are extremely important for us. Let us say professional skepticism or independence or engagement partner. Okay, financial reporting framework. All these various terms we are learning from time to time. So these terms are extremely important. So engagement partner is the partner who is responsible for audit engagement and its overall performance, and for the auditor's report that is issued on behalf of the firm. So he is responsible for the performance of the audit, for the audit engagement, and is also responsible for the audit report. Okay, and he must be having appropriate authority to do so. That person is referred to as engagement partner, and this particular slide shows the exact meaning of engagement partner, and earlier we had discussed it, so I am not repeating it. Okay, now as I told you, certain informations are required to take a decision whether audit needs to be accepted or not, and also the engagement partner should be satisfied that appropriate procedures regarding acceptance and continuance of the client relationship and audit engagement has been followed. Appropriate procedures, just like just now I was telling about this thing, that when audit comes, let us say there was a previous auditor, it is expected that a new auditor should write to the previous auditor, okay, and informing about this assignment and seek his no objection letter. You have to see the previous auditor should not have any professional objection to this. Whether that procedures are followed or not, that needs to be tested. Engagement partner obtains information that would have caused the, okay, now next point is something little different. If the engagement partner obtains information that would have caused the firm to decline the audit engagement. Let us say situation is like this. If that information was known to the engagement partner before, then he should have rejected the audit. He should not have accepted the audit. Okay, but that information is coming to him lately. Subsequent to acceptance, let us say that information has come. Then what he should do, how he should react. Okay, let me read that paragraph once again. You'll be able to understand. If the engagement partner obtains information that would have caused the firm to decline the audit engagement. Okay, because of that information, the firm would have declined the audit engagement. Firm would have declined the audit engagement had that information was available earlier. The information, if that would have been made available earlier, the firm would have declined. Now, firm has already accepted. What the engagement partner do? Standard suggests the engagement partners are communicate that information promptly to the firm. That means it should be very quickly, it should be communicated to the firm so that firm and the engagement partner can take necessary action. Okay, so that situation needs to be communicated to the firm. This is the standard practice which is followed when accepting any audit engagement. Okay, right? So as I told you, here is, you can see an example when a letter is written to the previous auditor. As you can see, communication to previous auditor. Okay, This is normal audit process. As you read, this is to inform that we have been appointed as statutory auditor of so and so company for this year. We note from the records that you are the previous statutory auditor. We therefore request you to let us know whether you have any professional objection to our acceptance to this audit. Okay, so like this letter shall be written that whether there is any professional objection on the previous audit. Okay, so that is the process. And the previous auditor should reply. You see, previous auditor also has replied. This is a reference to your mail dated this thing. We do not have any objection professionally or otherwise to your acceptance of such appointment. Right. So this is required. This is ethical requirement that this should have been followed. If this has not been followed, then we have to think how to accept, whether to accept this audit engagement or not. Did you understand this?
Yes, sir.
So these are examples of two letters, two communication letters, communication with previous auditor as well as the reply. Okay. Now, as we are learning various aspects of audit engagement team management, one important aspect is human resources also. How to manage the human resources in an audit firm. Audit has to be done involving personnel. So what is expected that the firm should have a kind of established policies and procedures to manage human resources. It should have sufficient personnel with suitable capabilities, competence, and commitments so that audit can be handled. Audit can be handled means audit can be handled following ethical principle and in accordance with professional standards and following regulatory and legal requirements. And the audit should be conducted in such a way that will enable the firm or enable the engagement partner to issue a report that is appropriate to the circumstances. As you know earlier, different kinds of reports are there. Maybe qualified report, maybe unqualified report, maybe disclaimer, maybe adverse report. So audit should be conducted by the people who are competent, who are ethical, and who follow the professional standards in such a way that engagement partner or the audit firm can issue appropriate reports. Okay. So what the firm can have, firm should have suitable policies and procedures. And such policies may include recruitment, how the staff members can be recruited, how their performances can be evaluated, how their capabilities can be assessed, how their competence level can be improved, how to ensure their career development, how their promotion aspects can be taken care of, how they can be compensated, and their personal needs, how that can be estimated. So these are the things should be addressed in the HR policy of an audit firm, because ultimately audit has to be handled by human beings, and their needs, their capabilities, their competence, their commitments, their ethical values, all these things need to be taken care of. Did you understand this? Okay. And in large audit assignments, what happens? Work is also properly distributed among the audit team so that it can be handled properly. I am showing you an example of a chart. You say this is, you can say, starting chart, or it shows how work is distributed. Let us say it is a big company's audit. What has happened? There is an audit in charge or engagement partner, you can say. And this is audit is conducted by 4 teams or 4 groups: Group A, Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4. And different people are responsible for this thing. Okay. And what are the areas they will be covering, and who will be people who will be helping them? All these things are explained in this chart. That this means this chart broadly explains how human resources are arranged to manage the entire audit. So it is expected to properly plan the HR management, keeping in view the competence level of the people, their capability. This kind of plan can be developed so that finally audit in charge, the engagement partner, can issue an appropriate report. Did you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So large audits are managed like this. It's not possible for one group or one team to conduct the audit. Maybe different teams are there. They may go to different locations. And finally, their views or their reports can be consolidated and appropriate reports can be issued. Did you understand the staffing arrangement of a farm? Okay. Okay. Now, next issue regarding audit team management or farm management we are learning. This is about engagement performance. That means how auditors or the engagement team need to perform in an audit situation. And it is expected that audit firms should have established policies and procedures so that professional standards and regulatory requirements and legal requirements can be taken care of in any audit engagement. And through these policies and procedures, that is the firm's policies and procedures, so quality of engagement and consistency of maintaining the quality can be ensured. Okay, so normally farms have their manual of policies and procedures, and those policies and procedures usually address these issues, like how management teams are briefed. So in an audit situation, management teams or the engagement team need to be briefed. They should be explained how audit needs to be conducted. Process of complying with the applicable engagement standards. How engagement standards, the appropriate audit standards needs to be compliant. Process of engagement supervision. How they'll be supervised, who will be their supervisor, how training can be provided. Methods of reviewing the work, appropriate documentation, and the process to keep all policies and procedures correct. That means modifying the policies and procedures as and when required. So farm's policy should explain all these things. And when audit program is prepared, you have already seen some audit program earlier. In this audit program, you can find all these things. I can show you some audit program. You can see it here. Let us say this explains how to do the audit. This objective of methodology, if you see, that you have to like this thing. Which standards can be followed? Okay, that can be referred. How work can be reviewed? How work can be supervised? So if the firm is having a standard policy, then all the work. Okay, let us say for investment checking, you have to obtain investment list. You have to do the physical verification. This is the method which is explained. Who will be reviewed? Who will be reviewing this activity? These people will be conducting the audit. Who will be reviewing? That is also mentioned in the audit program. How documentation will be maintained in which file? This is also instructed. Like this. So these things needs to be followed. Okay, farms should have policies and procedures, and these policies and procedures needs to be followed. Okay. Now, one related thing regarding audit engagement is how to monitor the audit engagement. You have already seen a program just now. Through program, audit work can be monitored substantially. And again, there should be policies and procedure for monitoring the audit activities. Okay. And the policies and procedures for monitoring activities should provide certain key issues like adherence to professional standards. So professional standards needs to be followed, regulatory requirements needs to be followed, legal requirements needs to be followed. Okay, and firms' policies and procedures should be designed in such a way that these things are addressed. A quality control system should be appropriately designed. Firms' quality control policies and procedures should be applied. And also, firms' personnel needs to be followed up. Okay, let us say engagement team is doing the work, they need to be repeatedly followed up. That means to what extent they have done the work, whether they are following the program or not. This is how the audit team's work can be monitored. In detail, we will be seeing the program because the program involves many things. Because all items of the financial statement is to be covered. This is what I'm showing you right now. Is a small portion of the entire audit program. Okay. Okay. One more key point we are going to discuss today is about the preconditions for an audit. After this, is it clear? Yes or no? So let us continue with this preconditions of an audit. That is also relevant for us. And here we have to refer to SA 210, which talks about agreeing the terms of audit engagement. What is the meaning of these preconditions of an audit? Okay, SA 210 in fact defines what are the preconditions. Okay, and you can call these are the conditions, or you can these are the things. They are defined as the use by the management of an acceptable financial reporting framework in preparation of the financial statement. First of all, the preconditions for an audit is that the management must prepare the financial statement in an acceptable financial reporting framework. Okay. Right? And the agreement of management and where appropriate, those charged with governor to the premise on which audit is conducted. So management should prepare the financial statement in an acceptable financial reporting framework, and management should also agree to the premise of audit. If these two things are not there, then ideally auditor should not accept audit because preconditions doesn't exist. Okay. How to know whether preconditions existing or not? Auditor need to determine whether financial reporting framework is acceptable. Let us say financial reporting framework requires that you have to prepare balance sheet in a particular format. But your client says, no, I will not prepare like that. I will prepare in a different format. That means the financial reporting framework, what he is suggesting, is not acceptable. So precondition of audit doesn't exist. Okay. So what is also suggested that auditor need to obtain an agreement of the management that management acknowledges his own responsibility. Right? Management is responsible for preparation of financial statement. Is it not? That management should acknowledge it is his responsibility to prepare the financial statement. Similarly, it is also the responsibility of the management to ensure proper internal control system. The internal controls are also responsible to the management. Management should also acknowledge that it is his responsibility to access to all information that he should provide the auditor with access to all information, such as records, documentations, and other matters. So management should agree that he is ready to give access to the auditor of all information, and also to additional information that auditor may request from management for the purpose of audit. If auditor is requesting some additional information, management also should agree to provide that. Also, he should provide the auditor unrestricted access to persons within the entity from whom auditor determines it necessary to obtain audit evidence. So if auditor feels that he need to some people, he need to meet some people because audit evidences are with him, he can collect audit evidences. Management should provide unrestricted access to auditors for that. Okay. So as I told you right now, that it is the management responsibility to prepare the financial statement in accordance with the financial reporting framework. We have already discussed earlier what is the meaning of financial reporting framework. Okay. It is in fact a set of criteria which is used to determine measurement, recognition, presentation, and disclosure of material items of financial statement. So management must assume its responsibility to prepare the financial statement in accordance with the financial reporting framework. Okay, this framework sets out the concepts and underline the preparation of presentation of financial statements for external users. So all financial statements has to be prepared in accordance with the financial reporting framework, and that is also a precondition to start an audit. Okay. So this concept we have discussed, and few other concepts like concepts of materiality, etc. we had already discussed earlier, and we'll plan to discuss case laws after your presentation. So we'll be covering this case laws. Some case laws we'll be discussing here. Errors and frauds, partly I had discussed what is error and what is fraud, about auditor's negligence, in which situation auditor can be considered negligence. All these aspects we have discussed. Okay, the reason for fraud is or in which situation. Let us discuss this part. Or we'll do one thing. This errors and frauds will recapitulate in our next class. And again, I'll be explaining you what are the possible reasons for fraud. These things we'll be discussing in our next session. Okay. Friends, up to this, is it clear to you what we've discussed? Okay.